You got a thing going on? All right, hello everybody. My name is John, and this is the John Aquarius Show. This is probably our third, fourth, or fifth. I don't know how many times we try to attempt to do this. And probably our fourth time trying to record and set it up to the podcast. So this is another test that we're just working on, but I think we're going to go forward because I was able to upload the last one. Unfortunately, it was only capturing 17 seconds of what we were talking about. So we're going to try to do this at least once every other day, and hopefully upload once a week or every other day, depending on the availability. My name is John, and this is the John Aquarius Show, and my co-partner here is Mr. Jones. Take it away, bro.
Yeah. Peace. Hotep. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, my goodness.
Sitting here chilling in my man, Asian American halal meat store on Washington Ave, where we've been for the last couple of podcasts. And, I just want to give a shout out to him. He's always been a good dude to me and a good brother. A lot of times when we get into issues, it's because of the language barrier, but besides that, that's like my brother, I told him when his last brother died, I said, you don't have a brother, and I don't have no brothers, so to me, you're my brother. I said, and he looked at me, kind of smiled. He told me he loved me like 3 times, because, I'm Muslim, and we're supposed to love each other for the sake of Allah, that way we forgive each other faster, and Allah blesses those who love each other on that day.
No, and to be honest with you, when I seen you guys together, it is almost like a Laurel and Hardy, Abbott Costello, Batman and Robin type of relationship. I do see you guys have a genuine love for each other, even though sometimes even when you guys fight, I feel like it's like a brotherly fight.
Yeah.
So
Somebody said the same thing about my man Nuruddin. Every time, like Nuruddin, I think Nuruddin says stuff to pick on people's nerves. Somebody was like, I don't think he want people to like him, but he always his mouth. And I was like, nah, you gotta look past that. He's a good person, you know what I mean? My thing is that though, this is my question for you. Remember Hanna-Barbera?
Oh yeah, I remember Hanna-Barbera. Saturday morning cartoons.
Remember the rhino? They should shoot the rock pellets out of their head, and the other thing is go yee. It was like a white ghost thing.
I just forgot the name. I remember. Yeah. It's that they were like a family unit that was stuck on a planet.
Yeah, a prehistoric type.
Weird creatures. Yeah.
What about Space Ghost?
The Batman. Yeah. I used to like Space Ghost because it reminded me of like Batman and Robin, but it's space type stuff.
He had that metal bird or something.
Yeah.
He had the yellow suit on and all that.
Yeah, and he had 2 sidekicks and a monkey. 2 sidekicks and a monkey. Those are actually really cool cartoons. I remember growing up.
What about Silverhawks? Huh? What about the Silverhawks?
Man, you jumping years, but yeah, Silverhawks was awesome. Actually, what's interesting, my father actually enjoyed watching it too. So,
yeah, you like Thunder got roar.
All those cartoons. I mean, I grew up watching them when I was a kid. So what do you want to talk about in terms of those cartoons?
I mean, they were more. They kept us entertained for a little bit of time that they was on when we was younger. I tried to watch cartoons. I was a single father for a while, and I raised my daughter by myself practically. And one time I was watching a show she was watching called Cat Dog, and I couldn't get my head around it.
Okay, no, I'm just checking the mic just to make sure because the wavelength.
I couldn't get my head around the Cat Dog show. Part cat, part dog. I didn't get it. And then there was another show with Uncle Daddy or Uncle something. The shows just kind of went
into like some demented type of weird stuff. Yeah.
Like Marty and some of them shows I don't get. I don't see the humor in them. I don't catch it. But maybe it ain't for me to catch, or maybe it ain't for me. I don't know. Maybe I done got old. I am older now, but I remember Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, Mighty Mouse was cool. Mighty Mouse and Courageous Cat and Minute Mouse.
Remember Magilla. Yeah, it was a bunch of stuff that we had growing up that kept.
But you got to think about, is those cartoons was deranged for the generation. Like You see how you and I couldn't comprehend the understanding of cat dog?
The old ones probably couldn't comprehend.
Yeah,
that.
for like older people, they probably was
Guys.
like, "This is too weird." You know, Magilla
Guys.
gorilla. You know, what's that? You
I
know,
mean-
minute. You know, so I mean, each generation probably could not comprehend what the new generation is
That
embracing.
makes sense. That makes sense.
You know, but I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I wish if I went back in time, or if I was able to talk to my parents, I would have told my parents to tell me not to watch any cartoons.
Why?
Because I really, like, I remember when I was a kid growing up, and there was a lot of kids that I knew whose parents did not let them really embrace cartoons and stuff like that. And to me personally, and this is just me, my experience, is that a lot of them became more successful and more realistic in terms of their lifestyles, because they were able to, you know, make entertainment out of sports, make entertainment out of science, make entertainment out of things that could grasp, that's really grasping reality. Where I feel like, at least this is for me, and not many for anybody else, but I feel like for me, I was like, my head was always in the cloud. Either I wanted to be a superhero someday, I wanted to draw comic books and things of that nature. It was never really anything tangible. I was always interested in the fantasy worlds. And I've met a lot of people who embraced it to the point they actually believed in the fantasy worlds, like they actually exist. People actually believed there was a Spider-Man. People actually believed that there was dragons flying around in real time. So I mean, but that's just my experience. I can't say that's for everybody, but I just feel like if I went back in time and I was able to tell my parents, I would always tell my kids to get out the house. But then again, at the same time, I lived in the city. So I could have been influenced with other things like drugs, alcohol, and things of that nature. So maybe these fantasy things kept me from those dangerous elements that are outside in the real world.
I mean, I understand that. It's just that, like, you have different class of people. You got the poor, you got the middle class, you got the rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe that might have been a different class of people, or some, you know, that didn't see where watching cartoons or whatever the case might have been, as far as their kids was concerned, beneficial to them. But then when you don't have nothing, because, you know, like the movie Claudine,
Mm-hmm.
back in the days, welfare became the black woman's man, because you couldn't have a man, how much he making, what he bringing in, what he doing, this, that, and the other, all that crazy stuff. So it was always a controlled substance, and some say it was designed to separate the man from the woman. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, a lot of us didn't grow up with the father figure around in the house, because if she was on public assistance getting money, she couldn't have no man in the house, because they'd be like, well, why he ain't working, why he ain't doing this, that, and the other. So, I mean, like, the cartoons, I understand the fantasy and the things of that nature. Then sometimes somebody can say it's pure entertainment, and then sometimes somebody can say, you know, I mean, since they created it from the Walt Disney, hopefully we don't get no problem by me mentioning the name, with the Mickey Mouse. Remember, it went from black and white to color?
Mm-hmm.
How many times did they do Pinocchio over? How many times did they do Dumbo over? How many times did they do Cinderella over? They still doing them. Now they doing them and changing the colors. They either black, Hispanic, or something else now. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a corporation trying to cater to a new generation of audience. Well, so we got to know. So again, this is a store where we're doing a podcast. So every once in a while, you'll have somebody walking in asking for things. So I lost track of thought, but
You talking about animation?
yeah, animation and basically changing of races. And here's the thing: a lot of people complain about the changing of the races and the sex swaps and things. People tend to forget is that you will always have your classic cartoon. Like, all right, so they made Little Mermaid African American character. Well, you always have the classic Little Mermaid. You know, it's not like as if, you know, okay, now we have the new Little Mermaid. We're going to erase and keep the archive all the. No, you still have the classic storylines. You know, so it's the same thing with any other genre that you were interested in. You know, so it's just how I feel. I mean, I think we take fantasy too serious.
I know.
So yeah, so right now he's just.
I know the Coco Moco.
Yeah. So right now he's just basically handling a customer, and we're just trying to work on that. So you got to write it up and stuff.
Pause it that way.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, right now the names of them.
I'm gonna just try to see if I can just.
I think this one has the
delete
price
this
on it,
part, if anything. All right, so we're back. Sorry, coughing. All right, so yeah, again, those things are not. I used to think it was serious, but then I don't. I mean, again, we will always have our classics, as long So I don't. And also, that's another thing that was upsetting me is that we take fantasy characters way too serious. Like I remember one time when Brian from the Family Guy character, the dog passed away or something like that. They killed off the dog, and there was so much massive massive feedback for that. The first thing I was thinking is that had we had the same passion for things that are actually affecting us in this world, with that same energy, we could have got a lot of things done. The way people reacted on a fantasy character and the way people are acting on fantasy characters nowadays for movies, it's like it's a waste of energy. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's where I'm at with that.
Things go up and down. We had TV shows where we would see the husband and wife and they be in separate beds. Now you see men and men and women together and all types of other stuff. Yeah, I mean, it had to have its own purpose because okay, around the world a lot of times Christmas was banned, but America made it commercialized. So Saint Nick was looked at as a bad person. He was looked at as evil. There was tales of him snatching kids and putting them in the bag.
No, you got the folklore messed up because that's not how it goes.
They was also talking about men giving other men presents. They would sleep with each other.
I think you need to get your resources about that.
I think I have it right, but you go ahead.
All right, because first of all, Christmas. If you're talking about the origin of Saint Nick, that's a Catholic thing. And then if you're talking about Santa Claus, if you're talking about the European character, they're practicing by pagan cultures.
Saint
He
Nick
wasn't
person.
No, he wasn't associated with that. What the character that was associated with the abusing of the children and the feeding of the coal and kidnapping, that was called Krampus. That wasn't Saint Nicholas. It was something. It was a different creature called the Krampus. So if he was good, he would give you good gifts. If he was bad, then the Krampus would come.
What did Krampus later on turn into? Santa Claus.
No, Krampus did not turn into Santa Claus.
That's
Krampus
right.
wasn't the representation of Santa Claus. Santa Claus was a totally different character. One, he's a mixture of Saint Nick, which is a Catholic. It's a whole Catholic situation with that, and it's a history with different pagan cultures. But he wasn't mixed with the Krampus. He was a separate person. But this wasn't looked at as, in terms of the pagan cultures, this wasn't looked bad on their part because that's who he was. But the Krampus was a demon-looking creature. He had horns. He had his tongue sticking out. He had like hooven toes and everything. So he looked like a demon.
Was he associated with Christmas?
He was associated with the pagan culture of Christmas.
Why you say the pagan culture? What difference does it make?
Well, because that's where it was thriving on. In terms of
but you make it okay. When you say pagan culture, is that separate from regular culture, or is that
no? What I'm talking about. Okay, what I would say is more like the ancient world, the old worlds, the European country. Like, if anything, Krampus and Saint Nick or whatever thrived around the European countries. Their history with the whole decoration of the tree, the person who's giving out gifts versus the demon who takes the children. That's all European history. Now, if it was frowned upon, it was frowned upon when Christianity and Catholicism came in.
It was frowned upon because of the people of the civilization when they was doing wicked and bad stuff. I give you a gift to sleep with you, or I'll give you my wife to sleep so I can sleep with you later. That's what the Romans and the Greeks I heard used to do. Just like that, when everybody's talking about the thing 300, they said a lot of times that they would have homosexuality involved because if your lover died, then you would fight harder. But I understand what you're saying. Krampus, Saint Nick, who else you mentioned? Santa Claus. They all the same thing, daggone nearly to me, and they all represent some shape, form, or fashion of Christmas, which to me. It was looked at as a bad thing. If you look at the whole history of any of those three individuals, it was a bad thing. Where America made him a jolly fat guy with rosy red cheeks and stuff like that. Okay, so there were so many people in the world that believed in that. I'm from Brooklyn. We ain't have chimneys. So I would always question, how is Santa Claus coming giving these presents and we ain't got no chimneys? Is he coming from the roof door and picking the locks and putting these underneath the wherever these things supposed to be? Because sometimes it wasn't a tree.
Well, I think, personally, I think when they marketed Santa Claus and they thought about commercializing the idea of Christmas, I don't think they were thinking about people who didn't have chimneys and living in ghetto homes and apartments like that. I think they were just thinking about their target audience, which at that time were white upper middle class or upper to wealthy class, Christians. They weren't thinking about African Americans, Asian Americans, things of that nature. But however, the market was to make it seem like it was for all the world. But you got to remember, this happens around the 40s, the 30s, 40s, the 50s. This is the time when marketers weren't thinking about any other culture but their own. So that's why we have what we have as have it today. And then you go fast forward, you even see they try to market a black Santa Claus, things of that nature.
But they quickly cancel that because certain things I don't think they're gonna ever allow to be black in a sense.
Allowed?
I mean, okay. It's called. It's like a marketing scheme. Control the image, control the language, control the people. When we first started seeing pictures of Jesus, brown hair, brown eyes, white. Later on, it was blonde hair, blue eyes, white. Then I went to my Jamaican friend's house, and his Jesus had dreads. And I was like, wait a minute. Then I went to my Asian friend's house, and his Jesus looked Asian. And I went to my Hispanic friend's house, and his Jesus had a little different hue, and you could tell he was fitting their ethnicity. And I get it, because they say people have a God complex, we have a problem in believing in that, which we cannot see, and that's where a lot of our superstitions come from worshiping tall trees, carving holes in them, bringing fruits and baskets, food in there for them, and when the prayer or the thing we asked for came true, we would go and knock on wood. Some say it came from something else. The 7 years of bad luck. They said gentleman was looking into the pond and his reflection, and his friend to the before to throw a rock in the pond, and it was 7 riffles. And he said, "Oh, how you gonna have 7 years of bad luck? Is it bad luck to walk underneath a ladder, or is it if you walk underneath a ladder and people are on it, some can hit you in your head and kill your monkey butt?" You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you
all right, so we're past the 10-minute mark. So if you wanted to say anything weird or crazy,
like I was watching Oprah years ago. It's a show where he was talking about how you could put a black doll and a white doll and where control the image, control the language, control the people. People started to levitating towards the white doll, But then there were a group of black kids that did accept the black doll, but a lot of them got the white doll. Even in Asia, she showed that happening and things of that nature. That's what I said. A lot of times with these cartoons and stuff like that, some of them give us great childhood memories, give us great, stuff like that. Now, you want to talk about something that made me want to react in a different way? That Saturday morning Kung Fu show with Run Run Shaw or the Shaw Brothers production. I was home every day to watch it. We would come outside and judo chop, jump in the air, and make nunchucks and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Homemade nunchucks. I remember that in the city. Definitely remember that. My father actually made me one. Yeah, and I remember the Kung Fu hours, and stuff like that, and going outside trying to practice the stuff that we've seen on TV. I also remember wrestling. We used to, be wrestling.
It was real back then. Yeah.
Because they were like our real life superheroes. Like, with the because you think about it. If you look at the martial art movies, they're jumping up on the trees. There's like one guy's able to take on 10 dudes. And in wrestling, you just see these big hulking men in speedos. So they're like our real life superhero characters. So yeah, I did. But to go back to like marketing with race, how everybody has their own depiction of Jesus. I'm going to say that I would say, this is one of the reasons why I believe God would never enter, come in a form as a human being, because I think, and again, there's something beyond that. One of the reasons why is because we will end up deifying whatever race he comes into. It's already to this day, people believe that, if they believe Jesus is white, they already feel like if they're part of the bloodline of Jesus, that means that they have some like bloodline of deification.
Yeah, going straight to heaven.
Yeah, I think every race has this form where they end up deifying their own race, especially if their deity is in that form. But that's also, again, that's all paganistic belief. That's all like, people who believe in different gods. In Islamic beliefs, we do not try to embrace that, But racism is real. Racism is a part of life. We can't expect that people are not going to be affected by racism. I really believe one of the reasons why kids will cater or lean towards a white doll is just because we're inundated by white influence. Majority of TV show characters, movies, television series, comic books, all your heroes were white, Caucasian. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of the TVs that you watched that was exposed, that was given to you. I mean, you could say no, yes, but majority of them were white. It wasn't just all African Americans.
My aunt, she lives in Binghamton. That's for the reason why I came up there. She used to always have me started off to reading early. So what happened was she had a lot of books herself, and it let me know that we had black people that invented stuff that helped this world function. He said black man made the light thing, because they used to stand us in the middle of the streets and direct traffic, and someone would always come by and go, let's kill them, and run them over. And if they didn't kill them, they would break them up bad. Like back in the days, war heroes, you get shot, so they're taking the bullet out, they cut the whole knee off or the leg off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So,
but you're also the few that knows that. Not many African. And here's the thing: we also got to look about around the world. Not everybody's been given information about African American heroes. Like, we didn't know that there was African American women who actually, because of their scientific knowledge, was able to help the rocket go to space,
to the moon.
But at the same time, it's like I didn't learn that until 10 years ago when they came out with a movie. I didn't know that. So a lot of these historic achievements of even other races doing things.
Because if you don't know, or you don't remember, or you don't learn it to teach your kids or teach other people that you have a conversation with, allow it to be a conversation of peace, and in some shape, form, or fashion, what happens is they want us to forget, because what they'll do is what they call is whitewashing everything, in a sense.
I don't think it's they want us to forget. I think what it is they don't feel like it's their job to do it. Like for instance, I don't there's nothing, I think it's up to the African American or any other kind of race to promote your own race, to feed the knowledge. It's not up to, you can't rely on the white man to tell you the history of your people, because it's always going to be biased and one-sided.
I think I just said that. I think you caught something out of context. I think it was more like when I said whitewash, I meant as far as if you don't know, we don't have to tell you. So that's why a lot of times the 5%ers back in the days would say, go where the lies are buried. And I'd be like, well, if I'm going there and I'm reading the book and you tell me the lies are buried within this book, why should I read the book? But then the other saying is, you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book, because we don't read books. So that's why I started to read books and do a lot of studying. We had black millionaires way back in the days.
Yeah.
Madam C.J. Walker, I think she did the straightening comb. Mm-hmm. We had another black woman that invented the security system that we have nowadays. Mm-hmm. We have, I think the black guy that made the Super Soaker. I think he also did something with computers.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Well, it's just, and I agree. And the thing is that we are because here's the thing. I grew up with a woman, my mother was an activist. So she was and I grew up with people who, in college universities, who were very involved with the African diaspora, the situation, teaching us African heritage history. I grew up with a Shimba who passed away a while ago, who was very into the African diaspora. So my situation was very cultivated with African history. I also, with my Hispanic side of my family, we were very cultivated with our Hispanic history. So, but again, there are a great many of other people who hasn't had that history.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But is it by choice? Is it by force? Is it by ignorance?
It's by all that.
All of that. Okay, so now we go back to saying Christmas, pagan holiday, Christians, non-pagan people. Why do you mash Christmas and what you so-called call the birth of Jesus Christ in the same day, when historically, when he was born, Mary fed him a ripe date. She chewed it up and put some of it in his mouth. And they said that was either the spring or the summertime. So if that was supposed to be your God or someone that you felt that was a deity, how did you move his birthday 6 months or several amount of months to make the pagans feel eased about it?
And that's what it was. One of the things, what happened was when Christianity started spreading up to the different parts of the world, one of the things that you can even see it in Spanish culture, in Hispanic cultures like Mexico, Puerto Rico, South American cultures. What happened was they was not able to stop the pagans. They were able to convert the pagans into Christianity, but they were unable to stop the pagans from practicing their traditions. Yeah. So what they would do is these things were considered compromise. Like if you look at Hispanic culture, this is the best example I can say is that many of the saints in Catholicism were actually deities in the Hispanic cultures, like the Santerias. If you've ever heard of that, each saint was a representation of an ancient pagan Spanish culture. So those things came up from the compromising with pagan practices. So that's why we have it today, and that's what you're seeing.
Well, like I said, one of the things about Christmas, I remember I was watching the Boondocks episode, and Riley was talking about it. Another thing about Christmas was that there's many different videos, there's many different documentaries, there's many different History Channel things to show that it wasn't looked at as a great thing back then. It all depends on different cultures who did it in different ways, but back to this country, they commercialized it, just like Halloween. The date of Halloween was moved 3 times until it got settled to the last day that it is now. But true Christians say we don't follow Halloween because they dress up like ghouls, gobs, devils, and evil beings. But nowadays, because it's been so commercial, everybody says, don't worry about it, let the kids have fun. But then you got jerks who put laxatives in the candies, razor blade in the candies, syringe needles in the candies. So is it an evil thing? Is it a good thing?
I really can't see. All right, so if we're going to go by if I'm going to go by religious Islamic law, all of that stuff is not something that we as Muslims are supposed to care about. Now, in terms of trying to look at it as a perspective as someone who is not religious, the situation is that it's a mixture of both. You know what I'm saying? Because like the thing is that, first of all of the holidays that we practice in America are basically, how you say, they're promoted by, because this is right here, this country is a secularist country, and it's all about money in this country. It's a marketing scheme. Valentine's was a marketing scheme to get people to buy more chocolates. Halloween's a marketing scheme to get people to buy more chocolates and candies and things of that nature. Christmas is a marketing scheme to get people to buy more toys and things of nature like that. Thanksgiving is a holiday scheme for people to buy more food. So these things help the economy grow in terms of what they do. Now, if people are like on the side, they want to do something evil like sneak something like that, then that's just part of the mixture. But you can't, it is what it is, though.
I agree, but some people back in the days when I was growing up would say, "Why should I be thankful they gave us chicken pox in our blankets? Why should I be thankful we taught them how to till the land and they killed us?" A lot of times when Christopher Columbus was traveling around the different little islands, when they set foot on them, they gave smallpox and diseases. And they lost the battle. But when they came back the second time, half the people were killed off. And then what did he say? Kill all the men and rape all the women. So you change the genetic code somewhat of those people, because a lot of them were the Mayans, the Incans, and all that. You think of little short people. You don't think of no 6 foot, 7 foot people. I'm not saying they never had none, but they don't never show it in that, or never portray them in that way. Okay, so then you say like Halloween is supposed to be an evil type of situation, but when you commercialize it, and what happens is when you forget, then I can subject you to a different train of thought. So if you don't think about it as a bad, evil thing, and you in your mind you saying to yourself, if I tell you the whole history of Halloween, and you turn around and says, yeah, it's not like that now, I'm gonna celebrate it. You do have the free will to do whatever you want to do. Now, whether you know the truth or not is up to you. Just like I know I've heard the word Easter Sunday, but you can't find a rabbit or eggs in the Bible celebrating Easter. And if a rabbit foot was so lucky, can you imagine a rabbit walking around with 3 legs talking about freaking humans?
Well, the rabbit's dead. They killed the whole thing. It's not like they cut the feet out and let the rabbit run.
Had 2 feet, right?
Well, the rabbits.
Did you get the keychain?
What keychain?
You never had a rabbit's foot keychain back in the day?
No, I never had a rabbit.
I don't even know if that was a real rabbit's foot. And then it came in colors. They had the blue one, they had the pink one, all that crazy stuff.
But I know that the people that did that would mostly basically eat the rabbit, sell the skin, and then cut the foot off. It could be in a marketing scheme. It could be like, what do we do with the foot? Well, sell it, make it, consider it a lucky charm type of thing.
They said that the rabbit used to tap on the ground and speak to the spirits. They said the rabbit was a good thing because it was so fertile.
Well, there you go.
So I mean, there's always something behind certain things. And like you said, because you couldn't stop people from following those things, they matched it with something good, so you didn't look at the bad part of the other part of it. Because if this part is religion and this part is something totally different, and you don't know no better, you're going to join them together as if it was, this is part of it. This is how we supposed to do it.
I mean, it is what it is. It's part. I mean, human nature. I mean. But you do have Christians who don't embrace these holidays.
Yes.
You do have a lot of people who see here's the thing, bottom line, like a lot of Christians who don't participate in these holidays is because they try to stick with the source of the book. Like bottom line, Jesus didn't celebrate Halloween. He didn't celebrate Thanksgiving. He didn't celebrate Christmas.
It says do not decorate and ornament trees in your house.
Yeah. So you do have
in the Bible.
Yeah, so you do have these Christians who do that. You know what I'm saying? But then you also got to think, some people, a vast majority of people don't care about history. What they like what helps them do. Like for instance, people like to dress up for Halloween. Why? Because they want to dress up as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. From all the spectrums of different type of characters that are out there. They like to dress up. Some people like the evils.
Freddy Krueger,
things of that nature, but
Demon,
it allowed, so if you look at it in terms of a psychological thing,
Darth Vader,
it's kind of like a release to let your inner dreams come out. You know what I'm saying, during Halloween.
See, the reason why I brought all that stuff up because everything circles back to what we originally talked about as far as the animation and the cartoons. If you just listen to what you just got finished saying, then you would understand what I'm saying about it as far as that's concerned. Okay, hold on a minute.
All right, so we did press pause, so it might have been a sudden interruption, but so what he left off is that this conversation was bringing it around to the full circle from the beginning of the conversation to what you were saying about animation and stuff like that.
Yeah, because when you think about commercialization and when you're thinking about entertaining people, whether it's to give them idle time to do nothing or to just take a brief moment out of their mundane, boring life, or as a stress relief, some of this stuff is important because, like I said, I may know certain history on the Christmas things, you may know other history on the Christmas thing, but what my point with that was, it all boiled down to nothing good. And when you just said that it satisfied both parties because they was Christians, but yet they wasn't able to stop them from knowing their traditions and the things that they came up with, their cultural things. They merged them with the two. And my thing was, if one don't have nothing to do with the other, why don't they just say, I'm not going to do that? And my point was that when people forget the history of something, you don't care no more. Like, if you don't know that Halloween is for demons, ghouls, goblins, and all this dumb stuff, man, you better relax. We just having fun. That's some old stuff. You don't hear about that no more. They disregard it. You know, the world is rapidly changing, and it's so strange that a lot of times you think that we knew of, or we had common sense of or knowledge of, that it doesn't make no sense no more. I remember going to my friend's house, and they had a horseshoe up, and one time I went, the horseshoe was turned upside down. Oh my God! All our luck is running out. She went and turned it back up. I had an aunt. The baby got a toothache. Put an egg in a stocking and hang it over the door. Scientifically, what does that have anything to do with a toothache? That was some spiritual mumble bumble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, that's what people believe. I mean, that's again, when you go into religious context, that's what the prophets were there for. You know, they were able. Their job was to, you know, turn people away from these beliefs. But again, if you're trying to, I mean, it's like this. In the end, it's just about whether your faith practices it or not. I mean, you know, Muslims don't practice these things, so your argument is just basically that anything that is not from God is obviously bound to take you to the hellfire in terms of religious context. But if you're trying to, the problem is that you're people trying to convince people who are not religious to try to justify something or to connote something that is evil without using religious terms. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really say, oh, Halloween's evil, it started off with evil, when in reality the most the documented information of how Halloween started was actually a deterrent for kids running around causing havoc. The lady who created Halloween, I forgot her name, and I just read this. I watched this on a documentary. I'm not gonna say I read it. According to her, or according to that information, she created it because there were kids running around vandalizing things. So they decided to come up with a holiday where it was on one specific day where people could dress up, smash pumpkins, you know, do all these crazy stuff, so they can at least deter the vandalization. So
that was the watered down version.
That's the watered down version. Okay, so what history do you have that says that came from?
When I was watching documentaries on the History Channel, and they would show you that it came from where there is bad, there is good, and some people worship bad at one time, and some people worship good, or they're good entities. There's no up without no down. There's no left without no right. It was just
but I don't get people who are worshiping bad. Like, good people are not going to worship bad on purpose.
I know that, but if you don't know the concept of what you're doing, or what you're worshiping, or what you're practicing, you're going to go ahead. It's like blind faith.
It is blind faith. A lot of people, and a matter of fact, a lot of the arguments of any of these prophets within the three monotheistic faiths were saying, was deterring people from following the faiths of your forefathers, or blind following. But again, when we're trying to go into a non-religious context, you can't really argue any of that stuff out, because you can't say, well, Halloween came from pagans. It was, people worship the dead and things of that nature. To an atheist, they don't care about that. To a person of the modern days, they're going to look at it as like, yeah, that's probably where it came from. But nowadays, I get to dress Jason up as Robin while I dress up as Batman, and I'm running around, town getting candy. They don't see that. So if we're trying to, again, my thing is that things like that, anything that's like paganistic or anything that has like a connotation that could possibly good or evil, it always comes down to religion.
I understand that, but even still, let's say you don't know the second part of that holiday, or that religious act that you're following, where you're mashing the pagans and the religion together. You're blind following. You're not actually saying to yourself, this ain't right, but I can do that. Okay, Well, one example, you seen Roots, right?
Yeah.
You seen a couple of old movies back in the day, right, with blacks in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
What year do you remember Kwanzaa? And was that something made up for black people to celebrate? And it related somewhat to the Jewish type of religion? Because I don't know, like where did that come from?
Well, to be honest with you, in terms of the African culture, that my mother was very active in the African culture, in the college universities and things of that nature, and we actually celebrated Kwanzaa. So I remember that. Yeah, I did think it was interesting how the what was the thing called? Because it's been a long time since I actually did that. But I remember the what was the thing called? It was a
Kwanzaa candles.
The candles. It was very similar to the menorah.
Yeah.
So but here's the other thing, and I would probably even have to probably justify it in their context is that, and this is what you're probably going to hear. Well, the black man invented the black man was the original Jew, so he obviously, the menorah belongs to him. So what? And then also they kind of relate to other African cultures who probably, had this kind of situation because it was it's around that area. So I mean, you're gonna have influential cultures in there.
When you say that terminology, the black man was the original Jew, and in Israel they were sitting around and they said to themselves, these people in Africa are calling themselves the original Jews or Jews, and they checked them and see if they had the gene, and they had it. So my thing is, maybe that might have a factor in some form, shape, form, or fashion. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, how we like to say, they take everything from us. You know what I mean? And then not only that, if it's 12 tribes that he had, and now we only got one group of people, what happened to the other 11 or 10 tribes? One story said it was 12 went away and only 2 came back. Like how what happened to the other groups of people? Now, as an Israelite, I'm not, but I know them. They would say the 12 tribes are the different types of blacks.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of can get it. But to a Caucasian Jew, they like, I don't never even really heard that side. How about you?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. The whole situation with
Israelite
with Israel, Judaism, that all happened around the African Eastern continent. So you probably will have tribes who went into Africa, things of that nature, separated. I would be honest with you. I don't know too much about the Judaism to know what actually happened to the tribes to actually discuss about that. But I do know that if there are Jews who recognize as Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews, I believe. So they do recognize that there are different types of Jews. So those could be the tribes. I mean, I don't know too much about the history about that, but
I think that's just a difference in some shapes, forms of their belief. So just like you have Shiites, Sufis, Salaf, and all those. Or let's go past that and go to 4 schools of thoughts, and everybody has to follow one of those schools. And even at that time, when some of the other schools around, they wouldn't follow the other school. They would follow. It was like, this is what I believe in. This is my teacher, and this is true. Point blank. Period. So how do you deal with that? You know what I mean?
I think we're jumping around too much, but I mean, there's nothing I can control about different people, different types of school of thoughts, and things of that nature. I mean, if you want to go into religious context, in terms of when it comes to the Islamic context, the one school of thought that saves it all is that follow the source. Follow the source. Was it something? Is it something that he practices? Hold on.
Well, Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the times when they made some of the stories that they made, 2 Jewish Jews made Superman, right?
Yeah.
Most of those superheroes were made from what we would call Caucasian counterparts, but they came from out of a thought pattern from somewhere. Because first he could only jump high. He lived in deep over tall buildings in a single bound. Then all of a sudden he started to fly. Then all of a sudden he had powers, and then he had more powers, and he was invulnerable, and he was so strong, he was the mightiest. Right now to the day, almost nobody can beat him.
Yeah, he can even come back from the dead. So he's almost. If anything, he's like a deity. But like, it's the same thing with Batman. I mean, one time Batman was one. He only had certain type of gadgets, certain type of characters were in his life. He actually, when Batman started out, he used to use a gun. Yeah. He used to kill his villains. So Batman started out. He was the first Punisher, and then over time they recognized that kids liked Batman, and they couldn't keep selling ideas of Batman killing. It changed from gun to gadgets.
But then they had an issue with that because they were saying grown man running around with a little kid.
That was the comic census that came out to try to and I'll be honest with you, it was questionable, but when I was a kid I didn't see it. I actually liked Robin.
Because he was a kid.
Yeah, because my father to me was Batman and I was Robin.
So it makes sense to us.
Yeah.
But when we go back to when we relating it back to a lot of the animations, some of it okay. Right.
But the other thing is, I also wanted to say, just to finish on the Robin situation, this is also the showing the sign of the times, where back in the days, an outfit like that was just looked at, oh, that's something a little kid would wear, So now somebody's like questioning, like, is that a pedophilia thing? when I was a kid, I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Only living in this decade, I could look back and go, maybe it was, I don't know.
You know what the funny thing is?
But I just wanted to finish. Those actually came from circus performance. Like, Superman's outfit came from the strongman. They used to wear tight leotards with their underwear sticking out. That's where that came from. Robin's outfit was actually designed from, acrobat. So, it's the sign of the times, but also the fashion of the times.
I understand that, and I totally agree. I was talking about, as far as also Robin's costume. And remember it looked like he had on leggings a little bit?
Yeah.
To where later on it started to turn into skin tones, flesh color. And
when he started out, he always had short shorts, and then he didn't have leggings. His first design was like the little underwears and the vests and the gloves and the hat and the thing. The reason why he was designed that way was because Batman had no color. Batman was like black and gray, and Robin. It's just kids was appealing to Robin. They wanted something that catches kids' attention. That's why he was so. I mean, he had yellow, red, and green. So it was a kids thing.
That's why I think the Teen Titans will wind up being like some kids' favorite thing, because now everybody wasn't the mature and old and big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a youngin', when you read the Teen Titans, you say, "Wow, I wonder how old these dudes is." But they said Teen Titans, so I'm figuring them around my age. Because by the Teen Titans came out, and I first started getting into them, I think I probably was around 13 or something of that nature. And I really started to get into it because it was like young people's stuff, young people's issues, young people's problems. And they never had to have the older guys to come and rescue them. Every now and then, when they was by themselves and Kid Flash was doing something and he couldn't get out of it, Flash would show up. Robin by himself, he was doing something, you could see him winning, and all of a sudden he had problems, Batman would show up.
Actually, no. In the Teen Titan comic books.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about on their solo issues.
Oh,
not when they got together as a group.
Because I was gonna. I mean, if we're just, okay. So I just wanted to say that this is also an experiment. We're working on a skill. We're trying to find our own voices in this. So if it does seem to be jumping around, it's only because we're just trying to work with a flow. But to just get back on the Teen Titans situation, I remember what I liked about the Teen Titans, actually the Titans. Especially with Marv Wolfman and George Perez. That was my favorite eras. I like the fact that it was them getting away from their counterparts. Like Robin wasn't with Batman, Wonder Girl wasn't with Wonder Woman. So even when they got into the deepest of trouble, they relied on each other, not their counterparts. And it also DC was allowing Robin to grow. And that's what I really embrace. I really like the idea to see Robin growing into Nightwing. Wonder Girl growing into Donna Troy she became her own woman. You know what I'm saying? She got married. Kid Flash became the Flash. You know what I'm saying? Aqualad, I don't know what happened to him, but but it's still, these were kids growing up, and that's one of the things I liked about the Teen Titans.
I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you have to throw in a little bit of the comic explain. You know what I mean? I like Rob, you know what I mean? Because you always say, work by a sexy voice. Sometimes you got to throw in history, you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to throw in fiction. Sometimes, because what it is because it's so new, we don't know what part of our subject that we're talking about is going to attract certain people. So it may seem like it's all bouncing back and forth, but as long as like today we constantly keep going back to the animation or going back cartoons, were also animation on TV. I mean, superheroes were also animated on TV in a sense. Like, okay, so now when you see Batman in a costume or in the comic books, he got Diesel. But name me one of the characters that ever played him with Cock Diesel. No. Michael Keaton? Not. Val Kilmer? Not.
No. Actually, but they were in shape though. They weren't like
shape.
They weren't like idealistically what Batman should be. But even then, Batman wasn't like his super muscles buffed and everything.
This is my thing. How can you not be that in a three-piece suit, but yet in a costume? If you bench pressing 500 Olympic level, and you're leg squatting 1,000 pounds, way past Olympic level into nowadays Olympic level, and you're doing incredible feats. I remember one time they were showing him and Robin was training, and he was up on the rope high with one hand and curling a massive dumbbell with the other. And I'm thinking, how is he going to get back down? Does he just let the rope slide out of his hand? Or does he, how do you use both? Or do you drop the weight? But it was comic books at the same time.
It was just a drawing depiction of how fit he was.
Yeah, it's incredible.
When you think about it, the artist that's drawing him, how knowledgeable are they with that kind of lifestyle? You know, I mean, let's just put it this way. Batman is an unrealistic character. First of all, if there was, we would have a billionaire running around in an outfit doing the same thing. Also, you can't have somebody that can do every single form of martial arts, be the greatest detective, and then have the top technology, you know, that's the standard of, at the cutting edge of technology, you know, and then at the same time, even if that person existed, not to know that this person is Batman. Because if anybody who has the access to that kind of technology, who has this kind of like, he's super strong and he's super fit, and he knows every single form of martial arts, and he's the greatest detective, he would stand out from a crowd. If you saw because Batman, in the average height of Batman, even in the comic books, he's like 6'6". He's about the size of Michael Jordan, and then he's got to be super fit. And I always wanted to do a Batman comic where he's an isolationist, where he literally doesn't go anywhere. He's his personal, he actually. My idea of Batman was that in public, he would come out in public, but he would be in a wheelchair. He would act like a cripple.
But that would make it more of a oh wow, I would never expect that to be him type of situation.
That's what I'm saying.
But they never they changed their origin so many different times, and then it always goes back to the original concept.
Yeah.
I think what they call them the Holy Trinity or the three Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in a sense. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes they throw Green Arrow in there or Green Lantern in there. But you survive everything. The building blow up, you blast out the building, conscious, and you shoot your boomerang to the next building, and you swing, and you don't run into that building.
Yeah.
You don't smash your body or none of that.
Maybe the new comic books, but I remember the old comics because that's what drew me to Batman. Batman would actually get torn up, and like he would barely survive these situations. Like that was a more realistic style. Like you start out seeing Batman in his outfit, but towards the end of the comic book, you would see his outfit's torn up. He's bruised up. He's battered. He's barely making it out. You know what I'm saying?
But listen to me. I understand exactly what you're saying. I agree. I've seen those things too. Drew me to him. But you're a billionaire playboy. All those cuts, scrapes, scratches, fire marks, knife stabs, katana stabs, stars thrown in you. When you butt naked and you got not to be homo or whatever.
Yeah, but that's
when you're naked in your birthday suit. Shouldn't that woman go, oh, dang, what you been through?
Again, that's why my idea for Batman would have been great, because like I like the idea that he was
wheelchair.
Yeah, he was an isolationist.
It's an excuse.
You know, if you see him in public, you see him running around. He's an actor, so he would act like he's crippled.
Yeah,
like he would say, oh, I went like so. If somebody was like, well, we have a story that you went to the Honduras to practice, and that's why he's crippled.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And his isolation comes from the fact that he lost his parents at a young age, so he doesn't trust anybody but Alfred. You know what I'm saying? And he walks around with Burt Ward, his ward, to assist him with his physical needs. You know, say, I need to, I think that would be able to keep the trail from following him.
Yeah. But then we wound up finding out that now we have two billionaires who have somewhat similarity, but yet none. Because now Batman is into armors, and the armor's within his suit.
Right.
But we had Tony Stark's.
Right.
We had the Iron Man, which he's never really super physically fit, but he's always getting a woman. The issue where he was a drunkard. Mm-hmm. They even show we see there's a flaw in his characteristics, mm-hmm. where and when he getting some of that armor tore off of him, and you see you see an eye and some of his arm and all that. It gave you where, even though they said the invincible Iron Man, because he can go fight you, figure out what you had, and then he'll go make his armor to not be vulnerable to your powers no more. In a sense, I get it, but in the same token, they like almost two different people to me. Yet they want to make them the same in a sense. I don't get it.
I don't know who's they want to make them the same, but I don't know who's they that wants to make them the same, but I just think by the creation of these characters, people see the similarities between Iron Man and Bruce Wayne. But the difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman and Iron Man is that Iron Man develops his counterattacks through technology, purely through technology, where Batman developed his counterattacks through physical prowess, detective skills, things of that nature. He doesn't necessarily try to upgrade his armor and make a counter armor, things like that.
Yeah.
But he does sometimes do that. Batman's more versatile in terms of his character. He goes by gadgets, physical feats, things of that nature, where Tony Stark is purely technology.
That's why I said I don't think they had nothing to do with each other also.
But it's still an interesting trait. But they're Marvel and DC, so it doesn't really matter. And you got to also remember, these artists and writers used to go back and forth between Marvel and DC, so ideas would flow, and they used to actually chill with each other. So ideas would flow around. Even one time, Batman, the creator of Batman, Bob Kane, would hang out with Stan Lee. So if you end up seeing Spider-Man with gadgets, it's because maybe he had a conversation with Bob Kane.
Or if you didn't give it to Iron Man, you said Spider-Man. If you didn't give it to Iron Man, he would think of it as giving it to another superhero. Because a lot of times, I remember Stan Lee always used to say, I want to make my own Superman-ish type character.
Yeah.
Because we have several Marvel comic superheroes that we can kind of relate to Batman. Yeah. Which one would you say is more similar to him? Would you give it to Mr. D.D.? And for y'all with the nasty mind, that's Daredevil. That's not some position or something crazy. Or would you give it to Black Panther? Or would you give it to who could we put into a category of, because Daredevil has the cane, it shoots off, it helps him, swing around, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. Black Panther don't have none of that, but in the same token, he got that suit. So, and he's supposed to be even richer than everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But who do we have that's in Marvel that we can say, we got one of those? What I mean, I don't mean to cut you off. Let's say Green Arrow. Hawkeye. Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. Submariner. Oh, well, we got Aquaman. Flash. We got Quicksilver. And so on and so on. You know what I mean?
So the best counterpart to me that fits Batman is not a well-known character, but he actually fits. There was two characters. One, somebody was telling me, is the Thrasher, but there was another one. He was called the Condor or Black Condor or something like that. He was a character who would dress up in a. He was a millionaire, just like Batman. He had he studied martial arts. He studied detective skills, all that stuff, and became the Condor or something like that. But his wings, his cape was not like Batman. It was like
metal wingish type.
No, it was like it was. It's hard to describe, but it was like strands of different strands of different. Like if you instead of a wing, it would be like one strand of a cape and another strand of cape. It'd be like in
different parts where it was like fighting or moving around in like a full cape.
Yeah,
it was all part of one.
But it was like a segmented cape or something.
I know,
like
but
that.
then when he jumped out on something and he used it to glide, it served its purpose.
Yeah, so but a lot of people try to say it's Moon Knight, but Moon Knight had superpowers. Moon Knight's powers was like whatever the moon was, however the closer the moon, whatever. His was mystical powers.
Yeah, mystical.
But I guess with aesthetics, he kind of resembled Batman because he had moonarangs or something. Daredevil.
Batman hides in the dark. Moon Knight wants you to see him.
Yeah.
He wants to beat the fear into you.
Yeah.
Reason why certain people that knew how to fight extremely well didn't like fighting Moon Knight because they said he didn't mind taking the blow. Yeah. He didn't mind you stabbing him for him to get to you, to wamp you up in a sense. So it becomes who could we say? Okay, Night Thrasher was a good idea. You talking about the guy with the skateboard?
Yeah.
Because he had all types of gadgets around his belt. Only thing was he didn't have a Batmobile. He had that skateboard that had no rocket power.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know much about Night Thrasher, but when I remember somebody asking me that question, I referred to the Black Condor or whatever his name is. Somebody was like, "No, Night Thrasher is more closer to Batman because of that situation."
It makes somewhat sense. I don't know if he was a rich billionaire. His storyline, well, I think the lady that helped train him was also somebody that killed his was in cahoots with killing his parents or something of that nature.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to look up the name of the character.
I understand. We have the Century, we have Blue Marble, we have Hyperion. I mean, maybe one or two more others. That's Marvel's Superman. Okay, so who came first? I think Samara came before Aquaman, and I think Hawkeye or Green Arrow came before Hawkeye, and we know Flash came before Quicksilver. Quicksilver don't even run as fast as nowhere near the Flash.
Yeah,
he can't do half the stuff. That's why I was kind of like. The funniest thing I just thought of was that I found out that they was not mutants. That the high evolutionary who made animals into human-like forms and gave them intelligence, that female cow who took them from the mother and gave them to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then there was an evil witch that also gave Scarlet Witch even extra powers in a sense. But something about them, they must have thought they was mutants. Or maybe they was told they was mutants. But now they're not. But then there's a lot of that with Franklin Richards was supposed to have been a mutant and then he was not a mutant. But I'm like, how could you be born with two superheroes and you come out with powers and not be considered a mutant? But then some people's parents was
it's a lot because I thought the whole thing is if you was born with superpowers you're a mutant. I mean, it didn't matter where it came from, how you was born. Like Longshot was from another world.
Yeah,
he was still considered a mutant.
Yeah, definitely.
And like
with the hollow bones.
Yeah, but he was
with the star on his neck, with the black suit.
Shatterstar.
But that's what got me confused. I'm like, what's the difference between Longshot and Shatterstar? Except for they stopped making when the last time you seen Longshot?
I don't know, but I used to like Longshot. I thought his powers was pretty cool. Luck powers. He had these daggers he could throw. He was kind of like Gambit before Gambit.
Yeah. But the lady with the 8 arms, I used to like her because when she showed up, it was a different fight for him because she was trying to kill him.
Well, not only that, I used to like the idea that she traveled through dimensions by dancing. Like that's how she traveled. She would do all these movements, and that would cause it to travel to a dimension. I thought that was pretty cool.
What was her origin? Did Mojo make her?
She's a Mojo character.
But did he make her? Did he?
I think so. I don't know too much about
it.
I would imagine she would be. If she worked for Mojo, either he made her or he did something.
Her somehow.
Yeah, because like Mojo was all about corrupting people and stuff like that.
Like Darkseid. And you got the what's the mother, the evil gray-haired woman with the super strength that be fighting. I forgot her name, Mabel or Marvel. Because you got some women that fight and they're super strong and they can give Wonder Woman a little problem.
Oh yeah, I don't know the names, but I know you're talking about the mother something would train them and make them into superhuman. I remember those characters.
And then you remember the New Gods and. Some people like the Eternals and the New Gods didn't last that long.
To be honest with you, all the characters that was created by the Dark Side and New Gods, was made from Jack Kirby, and that was a DC. Jack Kirby went to Marvel, and I don't know which one came first, but Jack Kirby made similar characters in Marvel. I forgot what their names are, but it's probably the Eternals.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
You know, but like, you know, so it's just, again, DC and Marvel had a friendly competition. It wasn't like they really hated each other, but they knew they had to race with each other for money.
Yeah.
But like, again, the writers, the artists, they would go back and forth between each studio, and they would even, you know, hang out with each other. So it wasn't.
Okay, so even as incredibly and strong as the Hulk is, the only like sometimes when I see beings that's a little bit more powerful than him, the answer always is the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, okay, so if that's the case, how does he fight certain people and they give him a good run for his money? I watched him and Sentry fight each other, and you seen green blood getting knocked down to the Hulks. You seen like light because he put to be the power. Sentry have the power of a million suns. Yeah. So you see like light beams and then another thing. Sometimes you watch them get punched and you be like, oh wow, that's a tooth. And the next panel you see they got all their teeth. You be thinking maybe they got a superhero dentist or the person that made their costume. Yeah. Be like, yo, put this false in real quick.
Yeah,
you know what
I mean, when it comes Hulk, he regenerates. So it's like, but at the same time, like again, one of the things is about the storylines. When you make an ultimate character, how relatable or how interesting you're gonna make them when they can't take if you shot at them, punched them, like say if you had a Hulk issue and he was so ultimate, any punches that came at him, any shots it didn't affect it, it'd be boring. So you have to have something that raises the bar and puts the character into a struggle, because it would just be a boring comic book.
I think his struggle at the beginning was because he was a brute, and then when he would get so mad, he would just start to destroy because out of his anger. But then later on, they made reference to his father was abusive to him and his mother.
I had that kind of thing.
And then it was a thing with the one below all, because in the comic books in the Marvel universe, you had the one above all, which is supposed to be the godlike figure, and then you had the one below all, and they were saying that he was manipulating it and had, you know, trying to pull strings within the Hulk's life and all that. But then he also said,
it's a little bit too much. Like, I be honest with you, what interested me, because I used to read the Hulk comics, what I loved about Hulk was the conflict between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. I love the idea that
was enough for me almost.
Yeah, Bruce. I like when they came up with a revamping of the origin of Bruce, is that he was an abused kid. He went through a lot in his life, and all that rage was hidden inside of him.
Yeah,
I think this was a comic that was suggesting that he was a mutant because the Hulk was always living inside of him. Mm-hmm. But psychologically, if you think about it, I can't say for all abused people, but that's an interesting point, that somebody who's holding their rage would end up developing some kind of double ganger, like, you know, some kind of deep inner anger, resentment. That would actually become manifesting into a beast.
When Bill Bixby was doing it on a TV series, he was saying how, like, one time there was a car that flipped over. Yeah. And it was an incredible story of how the mother who had the child in the car flipped the car back over, and how she was able to tap into that incredible amount of strength and things of that nature. But he was also a gamma radiation scientist. And I mean, the gamma radiation mutated him into the Hulk when he got angry. I understood that. Sometime
fun fact about the woman who picked up the car to save her kid, she ripped up all her muscles. She couldn't pick her arms up again. When she did that, she literally tore her muscles.
Even still.
Yeah, but in the end result, she lost the ability to move her muscles.
Whole body or just arms?
Her arms. Obviously, that's what she used to pick up.
Yeah, you might have to squat down.
Oh, bro, I'm not even gonna go. Okay, but I'm just saying she tore her muscles. I mean, in the end, your body can only take so much.
I understand. Yeah. Like Daredevil. I understand that the radiation helps him see in the dark. I mean,
all right, let me get this. I'm not trying to interrupt, but because I got to go to work soon, and I actually got to go shopping. But this was a very interesting conversation. You see how we flowed. We're gonna keep this going. And so tune in. It's going to be the John Aquarius channel. And we're going to try to do this every other day. And thank you for tuning in. Bye. You want to say anything?
No.
All right, later.